Hi, this week I want to talk about leading in virtual employees and teams. Um, Due to an increase in global organizations, there's been an increase in virtual employees and teams. That's been offset to some degree by some companies that have ended their remote programs, and I think that's because they're not able to manage them. There's also improved technology, which makes this option more attractive. But it's different from a traditional environment. So building cohesion with cohesive teams is a greater challenge than traditional teams, and different time zones presents a challenge for real-time meetings, and messages are easy to misinterpret in the online environment. Mary Rowe um, came up with this concept of micro inequities, and micro inequities are those difficult things that can be hard to prove, but demonstrate inequality. It's like micro discrimination in a sense. For example, an email gets sent out to everyone and leaves somebody off the list. Well, that person, that for them, that's a micro inequity. So team members and virtual employees can feel excluded. So they can feel these micro inequities. And once they start, then they start interpreting everything as an inequity. One of the things I do is I encourage virtual members to assume the sender had a positive intention. And I think this helps because in 99% of the cases, the sender does have a positive intention. Cultural diversity, language can present a challenge, and often English is used as the business language. And I know there's an example of a U.S. office of a Japanese firm, and they had to send emails to Japan, and because of time zone differences, they would wait, and then the next day they would come in to look for a decision from the Japanese headquarters. And often they would come in and there'd be no response, and these decisions would really get delayed for long periods of time. Matter of fact, they found out in some cases that they just deleted the email. And what seemed to be the problem was that Americans were being too wordy in the emails, making them difficult to read for someone using English as a second language, and often didn't include the critical information they needed to make a decision, or it was just too difficult trying to find it. So one way that problem was solved was by creating a standardized form that would make messages more concise and include the critical information. In leading virtual teams, there's a need for clear performance expectations. A leader can't manage time like they do with traditional workers. They have to manage outcomes, so the expectations have to really be clear. Not only that, I would expand that the outcomes they do receive from virtual team members needs to be communicated to traditional workers. Otherwise, traditional workers assume the worst. And also, I think organizations simply do not understand how to foster innovation in virtual teams, because this is often the reason that's cited for ending remote programs. And I think you have to use video conferencing in real time. And it needs to be part of the team charter or performance expectations. In other words, a team member, if it's a required meeting, it's a required meeting. And same way with the technology. The technology should be required as well. This means that team charters become important with virtual teams, and they need to include these performance expectations. They should specify real-time meetings that are required and the specify the type of technology that's required, including backup technology. For example, I've worked online or as part of a virtual team for 20 years now. And I have backup technology. So if my primary internet connection goes out, I have a secondary connection. I have secondary battery power for my laptop. And if I run through all of that, then a third option is local venues that offer internet, such as coffee shops. So I can always find a way to get online. And there also needs to be an exchange of contact information other than dependence on the internet. That way, when there are connectivity problems, there's still ways to contact people and plan and find out what's going on. So I think that companies, it's to their advantage to provide training to leaders on how to manage virtual employees and virtual teams. They just can't assume that it's the same, because when they do, that's when they start running into problems. And companies like Yahoo and IBM, for example, both cited problems in fostering innovation, and also there were the outputs or the performance of the virtual employees were perceived as lacking by traditional workers. And these are all management problems. These are things that can be managed, and managers can be trained to manage virtual teams and to be effective. Thank you.